Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. Special shout out. Thank you to Miss Nicole Crowder at Conroe ISD for helping to share the word about today's webinar. Nicole, is there anything that you would like to share with us before we get started?
Hi, everybody. My name is Nicole Crowder. I am the Special Education Parent Liaison for Conroe ISD. We support our families here within our district. If you need any communication, any resources, any help at all, just please feel free to email us at parentresourcecenter@conroeisd.net.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Now, a couple of housekeeping items. We do record every single webinar we have, and we put them on our YouTube channel. So later on today, you will receive a link to this webinar on our YouTube channel if you've registered. You will also receive the slides if you have registered for today's webinar. We cannot hear you or see you because we're in webinar mode. But if you have any questions or comments, I would love to have those and to be able to answer your questions. So please put any questions or comments in the chat box. I love that. I love it when parents are talking in the chat box, helping each other out and sharing resources or asking me questions. So feel free to put that all there. I am Michelle Morris with Consolidated Planning Group, and today we're going to be talking a lot about the waiver programs, a little bit about SSI and Medicaid and things like that, how to get set up with your benefits and make sure that you don't do anything that is going to jeopardize your child's eligibility for all of these great benefits. So a little bit about Consolidated Planning Group first and about who we are. We are a holistic special needs planning firm. We have been doing financial planning for over 30 years. We have experience in things like investments and securities, life insurance, all of that that you would expect any financial advisor to do. We can do all of those things. However, we take our business one step further, and that we have decided that we specifically want to help the special needs community. So we are members of the Special Needs Planning Academy. We are National Social Security Advisors, and I'm a chartered special needs consultant through the American College of Financial Services. So almost all of the clients that we serve have an individual in their life who has a developmental or intellectual disability. It doesn't matter how old your child is, but planning is going to make all the difference. So people come to us, families come to us for things like protection plans, thinking about mitigating the risk of what could happen in the future. And how are you going to protect your family against those risks? We talk about lifetime care planning. Mom and dad might be saving for retirement, and maybe they have retirement funds and 401ks and IRAs. But when your child needs a lifetime of care, it's like a whole nother bucket of retirement money that you have to set aside as a parent to be able to help your loved one. So we can help you understand how much that needs to be and how you can save that money in a safe way that won't jeopardize those benefits. We do a lot of transition planning. So much happens when your child graduates from high school or when they turn 18. But there are also the transition periods when they move out of your house, and another transition comes when you pass away. So we can help plan all of those different phases of your family's life. We help with ABLE accounts and making sure your buckets of money are set up correctly, how to use the ABLE account versus the special needs trust and what they're for. And of course, we are here to advocate for you and to educate you so that hopefully this journey will be a little bit easier with the knowledge that we give you than it would have otherwise been. I know that there's a lot of noise out there. There's a lot of helpful advice and a lot of people who want to give advice who are trying to be helpful, but maybe don't know all of the rules and regulations. And it's really hard. You have friends and family who want to help. You have people who also have special needs family members, and maybe their situation is different, but they don't know all the rules and regulations to really be able to help you. So that's why it's so important to come to an expert who really can listen to your family's unique situation and give you customized advice based on what you tell us. And that's what we do at Consolidated Planning Group. We can get you that advice, we can get you the real answers, and we know because we've been through it and because we've been studying it and because we've tried everything we can to become your expert in your panel of support. We want to be the expert on special needs planning so that we're here for you anytime you have questions. Out of over 263,000 financial advisors across the United States, fewer than 200 focus on special needs planning the way that we do. So if you're having a hard time finding an expert to help you with special needs planning, obviously that's not surprising. There are very few of us, but we are here. We're located in the Houston area, and we work all across the United States. So we can definitely help you no matter where you are. And today's webinar, even if you're not from Texas, today's webinar is going to still have a lot of helpful information as we get into the Medicaid waiver programs, SSI eligibility, and preserving those benefits to make sure, like I said, that you don't jeopardize this help that your child can get once they can finally come up on the waiting list to get these services. You don't want to do anything to mess that up. So here in Texas, we have these home and community-based waiver services. Now, every state has their own waiver programs. So whatever state you live in, you can go sign up for the waiver programs. Here in Texas, once you sign up on the waiting list, there's going to be quite a long wait for most of these services. Some of the services, like CLASS, for example, let's just start with the first one on this list. CLASS stands for Community Living Assistance and Support Services. And CLASS serves almost anybody who has any intellectual or developmental disability all throughout the state of Texas. So you can imagine how many people in the state of Texas could possibly be on this waiting list. And it's not that big of a surprise when you hear that the Texas waiting list for CLASS is about 20 years long, because it serves so many people. Everybody can pretty much sign up for that list. But here in Texas, we don't have a lot of funding for these programs. So the wait is kind of slow. Now, in other states, they have more funding for these programs and they're able to get people services a lot quicker. Some states don't have any waiting list at all, whereas here in Texas, they can be quite long. And you might be thinking to yourself, what states have shorter waiting lists? Well, of course, you can Google that information. But another thing that we've noticed, and I'm not saying anything pro or con, I'm not being political here. I'm just saying that some of the states that have legalized marijuana are using those tax revenues to help pay for the waiver programs for their states. So if you're looking for a state with a shorter wait list, you might want to check out some of those that have legalized marijuana use or hemp use in their states, okay? So the next program here, Deaf, Blind with Multiple Disabilities. That one is abbreviated as DBMD. And the thing with that program is it's a much shorter wait list because way fewer people qualify. And we're going to get into the specifics of what the different wait lists do and who they serve, so hold tight on that. There's HCS, which is Home and Community-Based Services, Texas Home Living, MDCP. MDCP is for medically dependent children. That only covers up to age 21. And you really have to have a child that is fragile, medically fragile, to get the MDCP waiver. The STAR Plus waiver is next. There's YES, Youth Empowerment Services, and then Community First Choice. So let's talk a little bit about who these different waivers help and what they do. So CLASS, as I've mentioned, will provide community-based supports to any child or adult with a related condition. Related condition, that's a very vague term. Well, there are over 200 different related conditions, and that's things like any disability, any intellectual or developmental disability that started before your child turned 22 years old. They can get service from CLASS. That's cerebral palsy, spina bifida, autism, intellectual disability, all of it. Next, we have DBMD, deaf, blind, and multiple disabilities, with multiple disabilities. This is an all three situation. Your individual has to be deaf and blind and have another condition. So you can tell, this one does not serve everybody. It has a much smaller waiting list to go along with it. HCS, Home and Community-Based Services, gives services and support to any adults with an intellectual disability or a related condition. They're living in their own home or in a small group home that has less than 4 people. MDCP, again, for those medically dependent children, you really have to be medically fragile. And I've heard of circumstances where people apply for MDCP and their name comes up on the list fairly quickly because it's a shorter wait for this one. But then when your name comes up on the list, we're being told that your child is not medically fragile enough to get this program. So I don't know exactly what criteria they're using. If you have to have 24/7 nursing care to be able to get that waiver program. But I would still say if your child is medically fragile, to go ahead and apply. You do not have to prove that your child qualifies for any of these waivers until they come up on the wait list. So once your child turns 21, if they were on MDCP, they're going to switch over to STAR Plus. STAR Plus is for medically fragile adults and to keep them in their community and out of nursing home facilities. So your healthcare would be provided through a managed care organization. And you can get on this list at age 21, but it's not a very long list. It's not too bad. Texas Home Living, they want you to live in their own home or in a family home for that one. Youth Empowerment Services. This one is a little different because Youth Empowerment Services, the YES waiver, is meant for children under the age of 19 where their primary diagnosis is something mental, emotional, or behavioral. So if your child's primary diagnosis is maybe schizophrenia or bipolar or major depression or anxiety, then you would go with the Youth Empowerment Services waiver. And then there's Community First Choice. This is an entitlement. It's a little bit different than a waiver. The wait list is shorter, but again, it helps provide home and community-based services for Medicaid recipients with disabilities. So in order to get Community First Choice, you have to be on Medicaid. Other programs, other waivers, when you get the waiver, you get Medicaid with it. But for this one, you have to be on Medicaid first and then get the waiver. Okay, they can help with activities that are related to daily living, like helping with supervision, cueing, hands-on assistance, things like that. Helping people learn how to care for themselves is really what Community First Choice focuses on. Now, the thing that you're seeing with all of these waiver programs is that their main focus and their main intent is to help serve families and keep your loved one in your own home or in their home or in a small group home. They do not want your loved one to have to go to a state-run facility. And that's why they provide these services. You know, they have done all of these studies and all of this research that shows that people are way better off when they are able to stay in their community and be active, get out there and about, and really experience the world and live their lives and live in their own home or live with family or small group homes. And so that's why these waiver programs help you pay for services like adaptive aids. You can use your waiver programs sometimes to pay for financial management services, supported employment and employment assistance. You can do minor home modifications with money from your waiver program. That I believe it's $7,500. It's a one-time benefit that you can get. So you can put in guardrails or a ramp or widen some doorways or something like that that you might need to do to your home. If you move, though, be careful. Don't do all of these great modifications on a home that you're planning on leaving, because you only get that benefit once. They can also help pay for respite care, professional therapies like occupational therapy, speech, physical therapy, but even the more fun things like art and music therapy, horse therapies, recreational therapies. They pay for prescriptions and dental care, $2,000 a year on dental care, and they can provide nursing hours. Some of the waiver services will also help you pay for residential services and transportation. For example, transportation, if your individual needs a ride to work or they need to use Uber or public transportation to get to work or to get to a doctor's appointment, they can help pay for those things. They can help pay for horse therapy, like I said, equine therapy, day-hab programs or ISS, and nursing care. So how do you know if you're eligible for the waiver programs? Oh, good, I get a question. Let me get through this slide and then I'll get to your question, Trisha. Generally, the waiver programs are for all ages, unless they say differently. So MDCP is for medically dependent children under the age of 21. Yes is for under age 19. And then Star Plus is for 21 years and over. So that is the age limits on the waiver programs. Now, there is some financial criteria. They will look at your individual's income, except for Texas Home Living. They look at your individual's income, and you cannot be making more than 300% of the SSI benefit for the year. So for this year, the full amount you could get from SSI is $967 a month. So if you multiply that times 3, you get $2,901. Now, this is the individual with special needs earning this income. It does not look at the parent's income. And of course, you have to meet whatever the criteria of that specific waiver program is. I mean, even if your income is low and your age is correct, you're not going to get the DBMD waiver unless you're deaf, blind with multiple disabilities, right? So you still have to fit that criteria. But remember that your eligibility is not determined until you get to the top of the wait list. So if you have an individual in your life and you have any question that they might have some kind of intellectual or developmental disability, It does not hurt anything to put them on the waiting list. And then when their name comes up, if they don't need those services, you just say, no, thank you, we're good. And if they do need those services, hopefully you've shortened your wait time a little bit. Okay, so let's get to the questions. I was told by class, Trisha wants to know, that they will only pay for home modifications for items that were denied by insurance. I have to submit that through insurance first, correct? Well, if that's what they're telling you, then yes, I would go ahead and try to ask for insurance to pay those things. But if they won't, class might be able to help you. Yes, we always share the PowerPoint. The slides and a link to the webinar will be sent to you after this webinar is over. So how are waivers funded? There are two different paths that you can go through to get these waiver programs. One is through the wait list. Sometimes they call it the interest list, the waiting list, whatever. It's what we've been talking about. You put your name or your individual's name on the waiting list, and eventually you'll get a phone call or some information saying that your name has come up to the top of the list and it's finally time for you to get services. This is a first come, first serve list. It is statewide. And like I said, that wait can be as long as 20 years for some of these programs. Now, there is also another way that you can get a waiver, and that is if they're trying to promote independence for your loved one. So let's say you're getting ready to put your loved one in a state-run facility because it's too much. You can't handle it, or maybe you can't chase them around anymore. You're getting a little bit older. Maybe you have a disability. Whatever your life is throwing at you right now, if you cannot handle it and you need to put your loved one into a state-run nursing home or something like that, you can call the waiver programs first and say, hey, we're getting ready to do this. We are in a crisis situation. I cannot handle everything that the universe is throwing at me right now. I need some help. So what they can do in that situation is push you to the top of the list for the waiver program. The other way that they can promote independence is if you are already in a nursing home facility or you are doing admission paperwork, they're supposed to look at your case at that time and determine whether or not help in the community would be a better service to you and your family than going into the nursing home. So how do you get on these wait lists for these programs? There are a couple of different options that we're going to talk about how to get on the waiting list. So first of all, for MDCP, class, and DBMD, remember MDCP, medically fragile, class for pretty much anybody, and DBMD, deaf, blind, multiple disabilities. You need to call that 1-877 number and you can register with them. Now for home and community services, Texas Home Living and Community First Choice, you should contact your local intellectual and developmental disability authority, your LIDA. They are the ones in charge of your county generally, who are there, your local authorities. Some people call it LIDA, some people call it LIDA, but this is your local authority. And this is going to be like Tri-County, MHMR, Bluebonnet, Texana, the Harris Center. Those are some of the names of the different LIDAs around the state of Texas. You want to get a hold of them, even if you're already on the wait list. Check out their websites, check out what other services that they can provide for you through your local authority. To find your local authority, you can go to this website. This will be a clickable link for you when you get these slides. And you can go there and look at different services they have to offer. You can call them and ask them to be put on all of the wait lists that they're in charge of. And if you move, within the state of Texas. You're going to want to let your new local authority know that you're in their area and change your address with them. Make sure they can find you when your name comes up on that wait list. And then finally, Star Plus. If you have that individual in your life who is 21 years or older, you can call Star Plus and get them on the waiting list for that program. Now, there is a cool newish way. You can now look online to see if your child qualifies. No, not qualifies, to see where your child is on those interest lists. So you're going to go to yourtexasbenefits.com. I'm going to put that in the chat box for you. Your Texas Benefits. I'm not one of those who can talk and type at the same time. I'm sorry. yourtexasbenefits.com. You can go to this website. You're going to either log into your existing account or create an account. You want this account to be in your loved one's name. It's not your name. So I would sign up my child for this account. Then up at the top on the tabs, you're going to see a Manage tab. This circle isn't quite in the right area, but Manage, it's right up there. And then you're going to see a screen like this, and you want to click on Interest List Management. So once you click on Interest List Management, it's going to take you, it's going to have your person's name and their interest list ID. And, of course, you make sure it's the right person, and then you click View Details. And this will take you to a list of what they have signed up for or what they are already signed up for. You can see where they are on the wait list, what number out of what number they are on the list. You can add additional interest lists. And if you look at this list and you think, oh, hey, I thought I signed them up for MDCP and it's not on here, you can join that list straight from this website, or you can call those other numbers that I've already talked to you about. Again, for MDCP DBMD class, that would be this 877 number. And for the others, you can go to your local authority to find out about those waiver programs. So that's how you get signed up and how you check to see where you are on the list. Any questions? I don't see any questions right now. Okay, so I'm going to keep going. But again, don't forget to put your questions in the chat box if there's anything that you need extra help with, or if something comes up for you. Okay, so again, the promoting independence pathway to getting those waiver programs would be the crisis diversion spot. And this is if you or your family are in crisis mode, you can contact your local authority and tell them you want an HCS crisis diversion waiver. Now, they're going to help you with this process, but you do need to stay involved. And this is for things like, let's say mom and dad are taking care of little Johnny and everything is going fine, but then all of a sudden dad becomes disabled or passes away. Now mom has to do everything herself. Maybe she has to take care of dad and little Johnny, and it's just too much. That would be a crisis situation. Maybe little Johnny starts to become a threat to himself or others, or he's running away. Maybe mom and dad's parents become disabled and need care, and they move in with you. And now you're taking care of your parents and your child. There's a lot of things that could qualify for a crisis situation. If you do call and ask for that, this is not the time to be brave and sugarcoat everything and to say, oh, we're strong, we've got this. This is the time to tell them for real what is going on and why do you need help, and they're going to be able to help you. And then I also mentioned that if you are working on going into a nursing facility or you're already in one, they are supposed to be doing pre-admission screening and then also resident reviews to see if you would be better served in the community and out of the facility. So those are the other ways that you can get waiver services. Now, let's talk about general special needs planning topics and issues and other things that you should keep on your radar. First of all, like I said before, there are so many people out there who want to help you that it's becoming very noisy. And sometimes people don't know, oh, they've heard conflicting stories of what they should be doing. They've heard from one source that they should do this and another source that they should do this other thing. We are trying to listen. You know, when Trisha told me in the webinar today that you might have to ask your own insurance to cover some home modifications before you ask the waiver programs. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And sure, it doesn't hurt to ask your own insurance first. So yeah, do that. But with all of the conflicting information and the different sources and people trying to help you who might not really be as helpful as they think they are, it's really important that you find an expert who knows what they're talking about. It's the same way with an attorney. You don't want, maybe your neighbor is a real estate attorney or a divorce attorney. That's great, but do they know about special needs topics? Not necessarily. And sometimes, you have an attorney do something for you. If they do it incorrectly, you're going to spend more money getting that fixed than you would have spent the first time around if you just used someone who really actually knows what they're doing. So we always recommend that you build a good support team of experts, including a financial advisor, a special needs focused attorney. Gather together any planning documents that you already have worked on. What do you have in place so far? Do you have life insurance, investments, securities? Do you have an ABLE account, special needs trust, your wills? Gather all that stuff together and look for, what are you missing out on? Or hire us to do that for you. That's what we specialize in. We specialize in analyzing everything that you have already done and looking for areas where we can make suggestions for improvement. You might want to work on your letter of intent. We have an entire webinar about that, but a letter of intent is kind of a love letter to your family. It's what you're going to leave just in case somebody ever has to come into your home and take over care for your family. It should be a family project, your letter of intent, and it should be kind of a living document. You're going to revise and renew this document as the years go by. As your family grows and evolves, so should your letter of intent. So as a former English teacher, I'll say that what I suggest is that you either find a template or you just start with a Word document. Start with the facts about your child. Name, address, where were they born, who are their doctors, what are their diagnoses, what medications are they on? And then that factual information will soon remind you of non-factual things that you need to let people know about, like bedtime routine, school. Maybe you want to let them know about family traditions and religious beliefs and hobbies and things like that that your child loves. All of that should go into your letter of intent. And I would also recommend that for your letter of intent, you don't keep it hidden on your laptop behind 3 passwords. This is something that is intended to help if you're gone. So if you're not there to log into that computer, it's not going to be very helpful. So maybe print it, leave it out somewhere, or put it in your grab and go binder if you have something like that for your family. And really think about your vision of the future and what you hope for yourself and for your child, what you want their future to look like. Okay, that's what you need to get into the mindset of these types of things to get ready to do some planning, hopefully with Consolidated Planning Group. Now, how are you going to fund this care for your loved one? We talk often to families about how much that care is going to cost, While you're here, it's kind of part of your budget as a parent to pay for your child's needs. But once you pass away, you're not here to pay. You're not here to swipe that credit card. So what happens? Well, you need to set aside money for them in a special needs trust. You can also, help them be funded through those state and federally funded programs like the waiver programs. That provides a lot of funding for your child. So that means that's less than that you have to provide. There's the waiver programs, Social Security programs, Medicaid, SSI, all of that kind of stuff will be able to help fund your child's care in the future. You definitely need a special needs trust because if your child receives a large sum of money, let's say from your life insurance, you pass away, your life insurance probably is set up to go to your child. Well, that can cause a lot of complications because if your life insurance goes to your child and all of a sudden they get a lump sum of money, they're probably not going to qualify for benefits anymore. So what you need to do is set up a special needs trust. And then instead of leaving your life insurance benefit to little Johnny, you're going to leave that benefit to the special needs trust for little Johnny. And then that way he won't lose his benefits. So you can have a special needs trust. You can also have an ABLE account for your individual. As long as their disability began before age 26, you can have an ABLE account. You can put $19,000 in the ABLE account this year, but you don't want the ABLE account to go above $100,000 total. Okay, so we sign our clients up for ABLE accounts all the time. There are over 50 different ABLE accounts all across the United States. You can sign one up yourself, or you can let us do it for you. We do not charge anything to do that. The money in the ABLE account can be used to pay for anything that your child needs. Now, it is a tax-advantaged savings account. The money that you put into the ABLE account purchases mutual funds. And then as those mutual funds create income, the income is not taxed. Now, there is a Medicaid reimbursement clause on the ABLE account, as well as on a first-party special needs trust. And those are things we get into in some of our webinars or things that I can explain to you if you have questions about that. Speaking of which, no questions, no additional questions yet in the chat box. So I'll keep going, but I'm running out of slides. So if you have questions about any of these things that I'm discussing, or anything that I haven't brought up yet, please feel free to put those in the chat box. Now, here's a list of some other things that you should be keeping on your radar in relation to special needs financial planning. So think about that care plan for the future. Who is going to take care of your loved one when you can't do it anymore? How do you want them to do that? And how are you going to pay for it? Think about that future cost of care. What we do is we look at averages by region and what it costs for different kinds of care. Maybe your child needs an attendant to check on them a couple times a week. Maybe they need full 24/7 residential nursing care. There's a wide variety in between all of that. Even if your child is just going to stay with another relative, it would be nice for you to give that relative some money to help take care of your loved one. So you need to think about what the future looks like for your loved one and how much that's going to cost. And then if you can arrange for that amount of money to go into a special needs trust, then you know that you're going to sleep well at night. They will be taken care of once you're gone, and that special needs trust will be there to pay for their care. We talk a lot about the waiver programs and interest lists like we did today. We talk a lot about SSI and SSDI. These are two different programs through the Social Security Department, but it's important for parents to understand that they're different programs and that they should be applied for at different times. An ABLE account, again, very beneficial for any individual with a disability that started before age 26. Now, they are going to change that rule. So if your child wasn't diagnosed with a disability until they were 30 and you want to open an ABLE account, you can just wait until the end of this year, and they're changing that age, I think, to 50 something. So you'll be able to qualify for an ABLE account at that point. We help families with beneficiary designations. Again, you never want to leave anything directly to your child with a disability. The special needs trust and how to fund them. You know, a lot of people use their assets, their life insurance, their investments to go into the special needs trust. One thing that you need to know is that if child support is a thing for you in your life, and it's very, very common in the special needs community, the divorce rate, across the United States is generally 50%, but in the special needs community, it's more like 80%. So if you have child support beyond age 18, it needs to go to a first party special needs trust, which is different from your third party special needs trust. Let's see what else. Residential living communities. There are a lot of great options out there. You should start touring those early. Check out what places you like. See if they're going to be a good fit for your family, both in terms of where they're located, who they serve, what programs they offer, and what they cost, of course. Consider guardianship, alternatives to guardianship, get with an attorney and start thinking about those things. Guardianship you can start that process when you're within 6 months of a special needs child's 18th birthday. And then, of course, what's going to happen after high school? There are great educational programs, vocational programs like the Texas Workforce Commission and Project Search, and there are great educational programs. So check into those things, okay? Let me get to some of the questions that I'm seeing out here. Thank you so much for adding your questions to the list. Our son, says Jenna or Gina, sorry. Our son was recently denied SSI due to parent income level. I still have time to appeal, but I'm not sure how to address the reality of our current income. We both work full-time, but our son's medical expenses are increasing, and we have limited coverage for the critical therapy he needs. This is such a common thing, and I hate this for the families that we work with. So the thing is that if your child is under age 18, then SSI is going to look at the parent's income and assets. As a married couple, the limit for your assets is 1 car, 1 house, and less than $3,000 in assets in the bank or in IRAs, in retirement accounts, anywhere. Okay, so it's very, very difficult for a child under the age 18 to get SSI benefits. Now, when the child turns 18, they're going to look at the parent's income. Wait, the child's, strike that, reverse it. They're going to look at the child's income and assets only and not look at the parents if that child is 18 or above. So all of a sudden, as long as your kid doesn't have more than $2,000 in the bank, more than 1 car or 1 house, and they're not earning too much money, then they're going to be able to qualify for those SSI benefits. Of course, we've done entire webinars on that, and I would be happy to walk you through your particular situation. We do offer a completely free initial consultation. So go ahead and get that consultation, and I'm happy to answer any further questions you have about that. While we're looking at this slide, this link is going to take you to our upcoming webinars on our website, and you can register ahead of time for some of our webinars. This is our entire team. We are a small independent firm, kind of more of a boutique style financial planning firm. We work as a collaborative team on every single client that we have. So you have the benefit of 4 focused advocates working on your behalf. And then finally, I want to show you this slide, and I'm going to leave this slide up as I get to the rest of the questions so that if you would like to schedule your free consultation, you can use the QR code, you can write down our office number, or you can just contact me directly and I can set that up for you, okay? Let's see what Jolie has to say. I was told by my special needs attorney, that since we have guardianship of our daughter, there's a cap on what we can put into the ABLE account. Otherwise, they might lose their SSI benefits. Yes, you can put in $19,000 for this year. There's a limit on how much you put in each year into the ABLE account, and that yearly limit is based on the gift tax exclusion for the year. So every year when you're doing your income taxes, there's a gift tax exclusion number. And that is always going to be the same as how much you can put into the ABLE account each year. This year, it's $19,000. Now, that's the yearly limit. There is also an overall limit to the ABLE account. You do not ever want your ABLE account to go over $100,000 total. That is where Medicaid gets involved, and they say, okay, you've got enough money, we don't need to help you anymore. You've got $100,000 in your ABLE account. That is where Medicaid would cut you off, okay? Genu says, can you list specifically what services we offer at CPG and the cost? Well, our costs at Consolidated Planning Group range from free to $3,850 and up. It depends on what your needs are, what your budget is, and what you want from us. We offer different levels of planning packages, a small, medium, and large, but we also offer things that we can do outside of those planning packages that we don't charge our customers for, like opening an ABLE account. If you wanted to open an ABLE account through Consolidated Planning Group, we do all the paperwork for you. We initiate the transfer of funds. We let you know, hey, it's set up. Here's your account information. Here's how you use it, all of that kind of stuff. We do not charge you anything to do that because we get paid from the ABLE account company to do the paperwork. The same goes for things like life insurance or your investments. If you want us to sell you life insurance, we don't charge you for the privilege of being sold life insurance. But if you do purchase, you pay for that separately. We walk you through the process. We do the paperwork for you. We help you understand your options and the pricing and how different kinds of life insurance work. And then we can sign you up. So it really, really benefits you as a consumer to schedule your free Zoom consultation, because that's where I'm going to go through all 3 of those planning options, those packages that we offer. We'll talk about what is included in each of those and what the pricing is. Or if you don't need those at all, what do you need and how can we help you? The first part of your free consultation is always focused on answering your questions. So if I don't get to your question today, I will definitely be able to get to it when you have a one-on-one meeting with me. You have the ability to just kind of pick our brains and ask us questions. Randy wants to know, how are people funding the special needs trust? It seems like a permanent insurance policy like whole life or universal life, not term, is one of the few ways if you don't have financial assets. And Randy, that is exactly correct. Once we do a financial plan for a family, we can see, if you do a full plan, how much money are you going to have at the end of your life to leave to your estate? And when we say leaving money to your estate, that's kind of just a polite way to say to leave to that special needs trust for your family member. So it's going to be permanent life insurance. Life insurance will flow tax-free right into that trust for you if you set it up that way. There are also options like Setting up kind of a systematic savings program for your family. Maybe you put in 100 or 200 bucks a month into an investment program that will grow for you. And then as it grows, you can put that money in your special needs trust. What about your current 401k and retirement accounts? Those can go in there. There's a lot of different ways to fund that special needs trust, and it's our job to help you find those. What is a good special needs attorney here in Houston that you recommend? Patricia, we have a list, we keep a list of special needs attorney, well, all throughout Texas, but specifically here in Houston, we have about 8 on our list. And it's a good idea for you to call around and talk to several of them, see who has a personality that gels good with you, see who has rates that are affordable for you, and go from there. Now, we've done a lot with different attorneys in terms of webinars. So you can go through some of our past webinars and see different attorneys and get a feel for how they act and who they are. But we're happy to give you the list of attorneys that we have if you set up a consultation. I'll make that promise. If you set up a free Zoom consultation with me, I will, at the end of that, send you the list of attorneys. Which waiver program, Genu wants to know which waiver program funds residential living arrangements. Some of them, various programs do various things. The HCS waiver is typically the one that is going to help you fund living arrangements, okay? That would be the HCS waiver. That waiver pretty much has the biggest pockets and a lot of resources to be able, it's kind of like the higher end, the Cadillac, if you will, of the waiver programs. Trisha, can child support go to the ABLE account instead of the first party special needs trust so it won't affect SSI? Trisha, the ABLE account and the special needs trust, neither one of those things are going to affect SSI. You can have that money go to the ABLE account if you work it out specifically with your divorce decree. But in general, it has to go to the first party special needs trust because this is money that will belong to your loved one. And if they pay it to you or your loved one first, and then you put it into the ABLE, it counts as income. So really the best way to do it is just pay it directly into that special needs trust so that it won't count as income. Okay, that's where the hiccup comes. Our daughter was taken off the class waitlist. If their only disability is IDD, they don't qualify. Ashley, yeah, I know we've talked several times about this in the past. I would definitely, get her on all of the other waiting lists, and I would appeal that decision because the class waitlist is supposed to serve anybody with an intellectual or developmental disability. Now, they do look at the IQ score, if you have one, to see that they qualify as having an intellectual disability. Typically, that IQ needs to be 70 or below, or it needs to be 75 and have other disabilities. Okay, so we can help talk about that a little bit more, Ashley. Are these benefits, I almost lost it. Are these benefits only for citizens? Yeah, you do have to have a social security number to be able to get these benefits for your family and for your loved ones. The new ABLE age is going to be 46. Thank you, Masha. What is a good special needs attorney? Waiver programs. My finger slipped and I lost where I was at on this list of questions. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to do these as quickly as possible. Yeah, you have to have a social security number. And I believe that if you have a green card, you have a social security number. ABLE age adjustment is going to be 46 starting on January 1st. Thank you, Randy. Do we offer life insurance for adults with intellectual disabilities? It is very difficult to find a life insurance company that is going to insure the life of an individual with a disability. Also, if your child has some sort of life insurance policy that has cash value, that cash value can be used against them as an asset. So you want to be very, very careful when thinking about putting life insurance on a person with a disability. It's way better to have that life insurance on the parent and then give the money, the face value, to the child with the disability. Yeah, just make sure they don't have any cash value. Talk to us before you do that. Yes, you can put earnings if your adult child or your disabled individual has some kind of a job and they're earning anything, yeah, you can put their earnings into the ABLE account. That earning, that income is still going to count for SSI and Medicaid purposes. They can earn up to $1,620 a month. If they earn more than that, they will be cut off from SSI. Add me to the list, add me to the list. I told you if you schedule a Zoom consultation, I'll give you the list of attorneys. So you add yourself to the list. I am an attorney at Hayes and Wilson. Yes, Hayes and Wilson is one of the firms that we recommend on a regular basis because they are so good and they are truly focused on serving families with special needs loved ones. How does a special needs trust work when you have other children, typical children in the mix? So you would have, so think about your life insurance. Your beneficiary, probably most people set it up to say, first it's going to go to my spouse. And then if my spouse is not here, it's going to be split equally between my children. That's what most people do for their life insurance. However, if one of those children has a disability, you need to say maybe 50% is going to go to Katie and 50% is going to go to the special needs trust for the benefit of little Johnny. That's how you split up your life insurance. So all of your children don't need to have a trust, just the one or the ones with disabilities. HCS covers small group homes. It can also cover other situations in certain circumstances. Can we have a copy? You will receive, if you registered with your webinar, you registered for this webinar with your email, you're going to get an email with a link to the webinar and all of the slides. Okay, last question I see is from Kelly, and 2 minutes left to go, so this is perfect. Kelly wants to know, my child has a severe intellectual disability along with others, and she's age 7. How would one be able to even begin to determine IQ? And hopefully that is not a requirement. Well, your child is only 7 years old. So the probability that they're going to be able to qualify for waiver programs, with a disability and severe intellectual problems, it depends what waiver program you're looking at, or if you're talking about SSI. But they're going to do testing at the school level, and you can request IQ testing at the school level. You can also contact your doctors and ask for IQ testing there, or consult a psychologist or whatever. Contact a mental health professional to see what they would say about that. But yeah, it's pretty important to understand your child's IQ, even if it is that difficult for them to test your child. I don't know that it's required. Many times I've talked to people who don't know what their child's IQ score is, but if she's got other disabilities, that could tip the scales for her in terms of benefits. But again, I'd be happy to look at your specific circumstance if you would like. All right, I'm going to put my info in the chat box one more time so that if you would rather call me to schedule your free consultation, or email me, you can. The email address is mmorris@cpgcares.net. I hope that you all have the greatest of days and a fantastic week, and that I get to hear from you soon. So thank you all, and I hope you found some of this stuff helpful. Bye, Nicole. Thank you for hosting. Thank you for everybody who took the time to be here with us today. And I hope I get to hear from you soon. I love you guys. I love seeing all the thank yous come through. Thank you. Bye-bye.